Sasno, your girl, and today we're talking about breakups.
Breakups and modern relationships, my two favorite
Yeah,
things.
yeah,
Um,
quite a topic for today.
so Sasno and I have known each other for a very long time, kind of indirectly. We both did debate and then went to college together, and I've been wildly inspired by just her like career and life and everything. So I'm very lucky to have you.
Yes, where I think that's actually a modern relationship now, maybe not a romantic one, but the kind of like mutual admirer from afar, thanks to the good old power of the internet. So I've loved your work and your art, and we're kind of going to be some hopefully like artistic collaborators, so we get to have a fun, very modern relationship as well.
I love that. So let's jump into the modern, loving relationships or not so loving relationships. What are you
Yes, the all kind
into?
love. Well, my current status is trying to get over a crush, which was facilitated via dating app and then continued, I guess, thanks to or no thanks to the powers of texting, WhatsApp, Snapchat, all of the above, which sucks because there's very much like a trail left behind of evidence and in the process of trying to like get over that, not like reopen the wound with a new text or like a new hello, and then trying to date again, but like in this very weird like COVID space of like social distance dating, plus like being at home for the holidays, plus indefinitely because who knows what's going to happen. So it's my current status.
I similarly am single, which is like strange for me because I love dating. I love conversations. I'm a very like intellectual dater. I love talking to people. So I also always have these like long trails of conversation. It's hard not to look at them. But now I'm just like also living at home in this weird modern space, which I think shockingly has made it harder to make connections with people.
Yeah, I mean, I think also like hopefully for everyone, like depending on where they are at home, like there's probably a variation. I was thinking there should be a like home for the holidays or like home because of COVID like section on the dating app because there's definitely that like, oh my God, I can't stand my family. I need to get out of here and hang out with someone vibe. Which definitely when I was in college, like I met a guy who I actually still talk to, which was very much like I'm home for Thanksgiving. I need someone to hang out with that's not related to me or I didn't go to high school with. And we still hang out, which actually that's so funny. And I should see if he's home. But it's a different vibe than like if, I'm at home in Birmingham, Alabama. I'm going on a date with someone who does live here full time, but it's also just like weird because you're like, if I'm gonna like leave in a month, then obviously it's a different expectation than maybe if you're here looking to for a long term thing.
Right. And I think that's also so interesting. Like, people didn't used to have long term or long distance relationships in the same way that we can now. And I found, like, I guess pre COVID, people traveled so much more that you were more able to have those relationships. Like, I'm theoretically, like, I might be moving to Paris next year. And, like, how does that relate to kind of my interactions with people, my expectations of people, and what do I tell someone when I go on a date with them? Like, come follow me? Like.
Yeah, or does it like add to your mystery? You're like, I'm moving to Paris in a year. Don't get too attached. Or, Katie, do you like lay the groundwork now and like be swiping in Paris? My friend is doing the exact same thing. Like, she's moving to London next year for school. So she was like swiping in London and found herself a little quarantine boyfriend. And like, I kind of get it because, like, I mean, that was my mentality too. This guy that I'm like totally infatuated with lives in another country that which I will not disclose. But I was like, whatever, like you can't like hang out with someone. Like I was in New York at the time and I was like, I can't hang out with someone if they're in Brooklyn.
Right.
So why don't I just swipe in these like fantasy countries? And I did. And like you can like weirdly, if you're just down to like talk or like get to know someone distantly, what difference does it make if they're like 5 miles or 2,000?
And I think that might be one of the benefits of quarantine is that I've actually been screening people better. If that sounds horrible, but like the kind of like online conversations I'm having with people or Zooms with people, like I can tell a lot more quickly whether or not I'm gonna like get along well with someone based on how we have conversation, and that wasn't really something
Yeah.
I knew before.
Oh my God, wait, have you Zoom dated?
I had a 5 hour long Zoom date with someone. Can you imagine?
That's a long time. I can't even imagine like zooming someone I really like have known for years and like for that long.
I know. It's almost harder to talk to people you enjoy. I mean, I did enjoy this person, but we're not dating.
Yeah.
We're like, weird Instagram friends in that liminal space that, I feel like a lot of people fall into these days. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, I mean, like, I much prefer interacting with people in person. I love going on dates. I love getting coffee. I love talking to people, whether it's platonic or dating or whatever. So this has been like really terrible for me. Like, I'm such a like social, like, I get my energy from other people, which is why I'm doing this thing, and
For sure.
it's hard. But I totally agree that like getting to know someone and just talking to them a ton can be really kind of wonderful.
I've learned that about myself so much in quarantine, like, because I'm kind of like an ambivert, and I was like, I always like love alone time, and I can be like such a hermit. But I realized like I just like need to be around other humans, and like whether or not it's like when I was in London for a little while, and like you could go see movies or eat in a restaurant, and I was like just the interaction with a waiter of being like, hey, how's your day, like what do you recommend I eat, versus like the kind of like cold non-interaction that you get from like ordering ahead on an app and then picking something up with by like barely making eye contact with people. So I miss it. I mean, I'm glad you're doing this too, because like we all have to be like creative about finding ways to sate ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, the only interaction I've had with people in quarantine has been like buying books at the bookstore and befriending the bookseller. Which actually, when I was like a camera salesperson, I made a lot of friends pre-quarantine when I was like selling cameras in San Francisco, which is like a whole other lifetime. Um, but
Yeah, wow.
but those like small interactions and those chances for community and building and conversation are so integral to what it is to be a human, whether you're an introvert or an extrovert. And yeah, it's just a weird world we live in. So do you want to
So
talk about breakups in the last few minutes we have here?
oh, yeah. Well, okay, so tell me, I was like thinking today, because I was like, it's so funny how everyone's always like on the internet, the whole like shtick is like, what's your like makeup routine or your bedtime routine? I was like, oh my God, people need to share their breakup routine, because like everyone kind of has one. I feel like my friends have like a little prescription for me of like, okay, block them on all things, like only text them once a week if you have to text them, or like some people are really into the like you actually need to be living your best life and posting it, and then when they look at it then you feel a lot better. And I'm like, I don't, that one doesn't work for me, but like I was thinking like, oh, there should be like a good little script to follow for how to break up in this modern world.
That's so true. And I feel like I haven't even had a breakup in a long time. I've had ghosting instead of breakups, and it's been a very soft breakup. And actually, I've been having a lot of conversations about this because it's like, how do you connect with people and make friends with them afterwards if you even want to? And I think it's so person by person. I think my connections
Yeah.
with everyone have been so different. And I usually find like normally I have like 1 to 2 like pretty serious relationships in a year. And then the breakups are always like not like nasty. Like the breakups are fine, but I just like I'm such an emotionally attached person that usually we end up like not speaking afterwards for a really long time, and it comes off as really cold. Um,
Yeah.
being able to like rebuild the relationship afterwards, if that's something you want, if you were like interested in the person as like a creative person rather than like a just someone you wanted to date because they're hot or whatever, like
uh yeah. I feel like to me, it's like either you break up and you can never talk again, or you can, and it was probably a sign that I didn't really like them that much in the first place. But I'm trying to get some balance in between. I don't know if it'll work ever.
yeah, I mean, and that's like a learned skill too. It's like, are you put in a situation where you can like for some of these, like some of the people I'm interviewing are people I used to date, and it's like really interesting that interaction. Some of them I haven't spoken to since we broke up, so it's fun. It's weird.
Oh my God, good for you. That makes me nervous for me, for you, but for them.
Yeah, I'm kind of a character. But that's all we have time for. That was like we could talk about this for hours. But thank you
Wait.
for being here.
Of course. Thanks for having me.